Okay, guys, today we are going to be adding algebraic terms, and you should watch this video after the video on introducing writing expressions, the introduction. This should be the next one. Okay, so here's where we're going to get started. Now we're going to recall fractions actually from 5th grade, okay? And I know you're paying attention in 5th grade. Okay, recall, shade 3/5. How many lines do we draw for 3/5? 4. Very good. Excellent. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do that on your paper. Very good. Nice job. All right. So shade 3/5. Okay. 3/5. Now, who can say this next fraction, 3/2, as a fraction? Who can say this next fraction as a fraction? 3 what? 3 halves. Nice job. Okay. 3 halves. So, 1 whole is what fraction with the denominator of 2, guys? 2/2. Nice job. So how many more halves do we need? If 1 whole is 2/2, and that's a half and a half, right? Does that give us 3 halves? No, we have to put an extension on our bar of another half, don't we? Okay, so that means 2/2 plus 1/2 equals what? 3 halves. Let's use, I know our denominators too, but let's say halves like we would say thirds. Okay. All right. Express 0.1 as a fraction and using a bar model. How do we say 0.1 using our decimal words? 1/10. Nice job. Let's write that down, 1/10. And what's nice about knowing our decimal place value is that now we know how to write it as a fraction. So we can write 1/10 as 1/10, can't we, guys? Yes. And then that makes it much easier to draw a bar model, because then we know that our fraction is going to have 10 parts and how many lines? 9. Okay, nice job. Draw your 9 lines, and then we only need to shade 1 part, which is going to be 1/10. 1/10. Or 0.1, right? Okay. And the entire bar is 10 tenths, or 1 whole, right? 10 dimes is $1, right? Have to know our place value. Okay. Okay, so next on the agenda is you can represent algebraic terms with rational coefficients. There's a new word there in this sentence. What's the new word that we don't actually know, that we haven't heard before? Bar model? Variable?
No, coefficient.
Coefficient. Let's everyone say coefficient.
Coefficient.
Okay, so now we're going to write the definite. Let's underline the word coefficient. Shh. Coefficient is the number before the variable. That's all it is, the number before the variable. And we know a variable is what? A letter. Nice job. And we are going to use our math words to show just how intelligent we are. Okay, so now we're going to identify, let's everyone say the word coefficient.
Coefficient.
Okay, and represent the expression using a bar model. So in number 1, who can tell me what the coefficient is? And remember, the coefficient is the... Let's read the definition. Guys, the coefficient, read the definition. Did you write the definition down? Nice job. So let's everyone say that, the number before the variable.
The number before the variable.
Okay, so which would be what?
2/3.
2/3. So let's write 2/3 on the line. I like the way that you said 2/3 instead of 2/3, because we are breaking our bar, which our variable is what? Oh. What's our variable in 2/3 x? Oh. What's our variable in 2/3 x, guys? X. Nice job. So the entire bar is x, 1x, okay? And 1x is how many thirds? 3/3. Very good. 3/3 x. That's the same thing. So now, in order to show 2/3 x, how many lines do I break the bar into? 2 lines, which would give me 3 parts. And we just need 2/3 of x. So I'm just going to draw a little shabby shading here. A little shabby shading. Ooh, that's not good. Okay. So, and then we'll just say, we won't shade it anymore. We'll just underneath write 2/3 x, and that's this part. Okay, that's 2/3 of x. Okay, the next one is 0.5y. How do I say 0.5 using my decimal words? 5/10. Nice job. And if I am writing down tenths above the 5, what do you think you should do? Nice job, mathematicians. Okay, what is our coefficient in number 2? Oh my gosh, you guys are doing a wonderful job. Fantabulous. Okay, 0.5 is the coefficient, and our entire bar is what? No. Okay, close. 10/10. Nice job. So our entire bar is going to be 10/10 y, which is 1y, which is equal to 10/10. Now, why did we say 10/10? Why do we say 10/10? Okay, this is 0.5 is actually 5/10, and the denominator is 10. Great job. Now, this, even though this is going on YouTube, guys, this is not a video. You need to be doing this, correct? So we shouldn't just be watching Miss Bryant, right? We actually need to be doing this, okay? Nice job. Okay, so now we need 5/10. So the lines aren't drawn on your paper. I did this already. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want 5/10 of y. The entire bar is y. We are only dealing with 5/10 of y. Okay. Okay. Great job. I like the way everybody is participating. And this is the beginning of our algebra unit, but this is actually one of the more difficult parts, and you guys are doing a great job. Fantabulous. Okay, so number 3, how do I say number 3? 3 halves. Remember, our denominator is 2. So 3 halves of y. Our coefficient is 3 halves. Nice job. Okay, so 1 bar is y. Okay, we're going to pick up blue. 1 bar is y. How many halves is 1 y? How many halves is 1 whole? How many halves, how many 50 cents make $1? Okay. Okay. So 2/2y is the same thing as 1y. Because guess what? The coefficient on our single variable y is what? What's the coefficient on our single? I think I might actually reward someone who knows this. What's the coefficient on our single variable y? X?
No.
Yeah. You said it first. 2/2. And 2/2 equals what?
1.
Okay, 1. So the coefficient is 1, guys. Okay. All right, so let's do 3 halves. How many halves are in a whole? How many halves are in a whole? 2. Okay, so we have 2 halves. Do we need to add anything on? Another what? Another half. Great job. And it's a little messy, but I think we're getting the drift of it. So this whole thing is 3 halves of y. Because this first part, the first bar is y. So when we have 3 1/2 parts, that's 3/2 of y. Now yesterday I noticed some people weren't writing the variable, and we're doing algebra, so we have to always have our variables when they're there, okay? Next one. How do I say the next one? 1 and 8/10 cube. Excellent. So 1 whole, because that's in the 1 is in the ones place, right? And 8 is in the tenths place. So this is 1 and 8/10 cube. Okay. And what's the coefficient? What's the coefficient? 1.8. Nice job. Remember, the coefficient is the what? Excellent. Okay. So 1 whole is 1 cube. How many tenths? And I'm not crazy about this because now I'm out of space. Okay, so 1 whole is 1 cube. Okay. How much do I have to add on? That's 10 tenths, right? 1 cube is 10 tenths. Okay, so I've got 10 tenths. How much more do I need? I need 1 and 8/10. So I have 1 whole, which is 10 tenths. Okay, so here's how I'm going to help us, since this is live. Okay, so let's paste. Okay, so 1 whole is 10 tenths, right, guys? So how much do we have to add on? How much more? Good, 8/10 more. So, and this will be a little tricky for you, but go ahead. What'd you say? Well, you're going to add on another bar and just add on 8/10. Like go, I don't know. You can actually just like do a little bit more than 3/4 of the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So after the 7th line, we know that that's 0.8. So that's 8/10 of y, 8/10 of q plus 1 whole q. You guys understand? A little messy, but I think my mathematicians have it. Okay, guys. Let's turn the page. Good job. Next page. Now, let's use the bar models to simplify rational expressions. And remember, rational is just any number that can be written as a fraction. Because what word do we hear in rational or see? Ratio. And give me an example of a ratio. 2 girls for 1 boy. Hey, nice job. Okay. Okay. All right. So now, algorithm, guys. Let's underline the word algorithm. Algorithm simply just means when we do it the regular math way using our numbers and not models, okay? But we're going to use the model first. So this is 7/10 of x. Now let's remember that the entire bar is x. Now we need to identify 7/10. So that's going to be each one of these boxes is how many tenths? 1/10. So I need 7 of them. But Miss Bryan is just going to say, well, 10 minus 7 is 3. So I know that I can go here, and that's 7/10 of x. Oops, 7/10 of x. And I can put 0.7 because that tells me that 7/10 is between 0 and 1. Okay, so I'm adding to 7/10 of x, how much? Read the expression. I'm adding what to 7/10? 3/10. Okay, so now I'm going to add 3/10 to x. And that's 3/10 x. Okay. And if I add 7/10 and 3/10, how many tenths do I get? 10/10. 7 plus 3 is 10/10. And someone said a whole. So let's go 10/10, 10 over 10. X, which is equal to just 1x, isn't it? Okay, so that's our answer. But of course, in the real world, we are not going to be using bars. We are going to take our decimals, line them up, 0.7x, 7/10 x, and 3/10 x. So when